Hey guys, Angelique here. Today I'm going to be talking about Kerberos and the simple overall flow. If you don't know what Kerberos is, it's a network authentication protocol that uses tickets and symmetric key cryptography to securely verify the identity of users and computers over an insecure network like the internet or a local area network. Fun fact, Kerberos is named after the three-headed dog Cerberus that was guarding the gates of the underworld, Hades. And his main duty is to let authorized souls in, but keep everyone else out. So there are three main components, just like there's three heads to the guardian dog, to this overall flow piece. So one of them consists of the user. The other part is the key distribution center. And one important thing to note is the key distribution center has two different components to it. The key distribution center is one, an authentication server, and it's also a ticket granting server as well. All right. And lastly, the last piece is the service server. Alright, so I feel like the best way to demonstrate the flow is to show kind of how these three key pieces will communicate to each other through text messages. So let's say the user here, her name is Alice, right? Alice sends a text to the KDC. She's like, hey, I'm Alice. I'd like to prove who I am, and I'd like access to the network, right? So under the hood, as this message is being sent out, she's actually sending an authentication server request. And with this authentication server request, the computer will encrypt the timestamp that the authentication server request was sent, and it's going to encrypt that timestamp using the user's NT hash. Okay? And then Alice gets a reply back from the KDC. The KDC says, all right, here's your ticket granting ticket, Alice, but you'll need your password to open it. And so what that is an authentication server reply, right? So the KDC will verify the timestamp by decrypting it using the user's key from its database, which is Active Directory, and let's say in this example, and then it'll go ahead and say, all right, here's your ticket granting ticket. Then Alice will have a hold of her ticket granting ticket. Now, Alice has this ticket and she's like, okay, well, now I want to go on a ride, right? Like if we're thinking in terms of amusement parks. But in this case, she's going to want to use the service, right? So let's say, or I'm going to use this ticket I need access to the file server, right? So she sends a text to the KDC, but this text is directed towards the ticket granting server instead of the authentication server. Once she already got past the authentication process, now she just needs to talk to the TGS, which is basically the guy that checks if she's tall enough to ride the ride, right? And then, so the TGS, or she'll send a message over to the TGS. She'll say, hey, TGS, here's my ticket from the authentication server. I'd like to access the file server 01, let's say. And so when she sends over that ticket granting server request, she'll send over her ticket that she grabbed from the authentication server, right? She'll send it back over to the KDC. They're gonna check the timestamps. Remember, the KDC has the keys to do all of the decryption and to see all the info to see if it all matches up on its end. It's gonna check the timestamp, the client info, what service she wants to use, and then it'll be like, okay, I think this is good. This all checks out. So then it'll start constructing a service ticket key. Which contains flags, session keys, the client name, realm, valid ticket times, client address. It'll go ahead and construct that key and be like, okay, here is your service ticket. Still the TGT, right? So here, all right, your TGT checks out. Here's a service ticket for the file server that you want to access, or the ride that you want to ride if you're thinking of amusement parks, right? So then what happens is that communication with the KDC stops, and then you start talking now to the actual service that you want to access, right? So, okay, in this case, it's going to be the service server or the file server, right? And then it's going to say, Alice is going to say, hi, file server, here's my service ticket and authentication to prove it's really me. So this is the ticket that was built up, encrypted, and checked out by the KDC. And since this particular file server is, since this particular file server trusts the Kerberos, the ticket granting system, then it'll accept the ticket and it'll grant the service. So by default, a ticket granting ticket is valid for 10 hours, and when it expires, Windows will automatically and transparently request a new one. And so, yeah, that's how Kerberos works. Thanks, everybody.